Are you in there controlling it, Holly?
Yeah, where do you want it to look? Do you want this on here or just the person?
Normally he has it like this, but whatever you all want
Okay.
to do, I have no.
Look, I don't have a preference. It's totally backwards. Let's see.
Okay, there we go.
Wait a minute. Hey, will you the
Thank you everyone for your help.
Okay. Oh. 5. What time did you get up today? You're crazy. I am not looking forward to it. Okay. Pretty much full charged. But just in case. You got it.
Better be safe than sorry.
Do we need to move it closer?
What?
As far as I can zoom in.
Is it
Is that
because you
close
zoomed
enough?
in all the way?
Oh, could I stand more in the way?
Sorry, you're fine.
I think it's just blurry because you zoomed in so much.
I mean, if you need to move it, that's no problem.
I'm scared to move
Very sensitive plot.
it. It is. But I think it'll be get the job done. Is the audio set properly?
Yeah.
Sorry, I guess I only did
Well, no, I said those. You did the one.
2/5.
And then I did those when I came back and I was like, gosh, it's more.
So here's
Okay, I'm gonna leave it as is. Well, if my phone goes to sleep, dang, no, I don't have class until 11:10 actually.
you go do
There you
it.
go.
File at 10.
So it's not gonna turn it off. It's fine.
No, that's just the way to control it.
Yep.
Our tree migration.
I worked some.
You forget files.
I don't know. You'll have
You
to-
did. Okay, good.
Hopefully it's.
I worked some. I mean, I did. I tried to do a couple hours each day or something just to catch up. I
Is the
really
sound
need to
actually,
dig
did we
in.
check sound?
I've got to give up.
Yep.
Wednesday.
Do what?
Where I can have the council.
Send them towards that
And I was supposed to present.
outside.
Well, I've already been sending them, so I've already got the hot storage with them, but the headmaster wanted me to, you know, give them an update. So,
It's like almost everything like you get now.
you can't.
Even the title,
Yes.
it's a title.
So I'm just debating what I've got I've already got the PowerPoint ready for back in the meeting. I'm just gonna put a couple slides in there. And it's like, well, you know, what should I say? And I don't know what should I say. Because I contend, and I've told them, the headmaster this, and I've talked to this. I don't need to be driving the decision on what we do about it. It's an academic decision. I'm just trying to plant the seed because it is a tech thing. But, you know, we need to, as faculty, discuss it. They need to decide what we teach about it, what kind of but once again, I think they should come to me and say, John, as a faculty, we feel it needs to be.
I feel like.
Of course, you're Shari and a JK kid is gonna be, they're gonna come in because
That's
PK's
right.
got about.
I feel like if we block it all, if you do it, you can't use this. You can't use this professionally as faculty. You can't use this as students. That would be the problem.
So
It's not like horror teachers.
Yeah, I don't know, so that's why.
Our students and stuff, a lot of them do. But most of
Y'all
them.
issue licenses, though.
We do.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of issue, but they can get on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The fascinating thing about it, I saw a discussion from.
No, I don't want to get it.
What are we doing?
Like, did, you know, this, right?
Yeah.
And it's like two ChatGPT came back and said, the diagnosis is this, which was correct. Then they said, well, how did you get it? Like, they asked me. And I said, how did you?
You know, I wasn't quite sure what was the front or the back.
And then I asked the rest of the
Just back.
Yeah.
Did you say that?
Never, always on the election.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
What she said.
So it was. And it was very interesting. I did.
It's good, it's what you. It's good back.
We had to check out.
Hey, good morning. Sit here with you. How are you?
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great guy, like help.
I know. That's my favorite. We use our owls all over. The only thing, when I talked to Al, I was like, it'd be great if you guys made a battery pack that it could sit on. And then, like I said, kind of like a podium that it sit on. And we would do inductive charging. And so we could put it in the middle of the room. And just put it in and make it, a USB cable, I'm okay with, but the power issue.
We couldn't get it to connect. Gentlemen in here, he realized that the connection, USB connection of
It's ironic that they chose micro USB. You would think, I'm pretty sure the next version is USB-C.
People who are mad at parking, I think they hardly have any tickets. It doesn't sound like people are doing what they need to.
really could find themselves. Yeah, well, and they're the ones who are right. So really good, you know, they're right on that one.
Just issues.
Fine with this, copy, you guys follow it, it is, I made this with ChatGPT.
Yeah, there's people.
That's that also is gonna be harder.
He's not present, you don't see him. There's a lot of staff members.
Everybody has their own life. It's free break. We are on spring break. Are you here? Are you there for Christmas? We were Christmas. And then we're on spring break.
just this reminder.
Oh, you're a Trump.
And then it was like,
Well, or she just thought it's common. Because she knows it's hard. They're like, so. Well, it's interesting.
all right, I guess we'll get started. Okay. And then it's
Yeah, well, we got it, we always do this service. But anyway, if you did it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Cindy, good
Is
morning.
that the original link that you sent out?
The minutes are in the link that Arthur sent out announcing the meeting. If anybody needs that. If you don't know me, if you're new, I'm Cindy Brock. I'm the past president. Arthur couldn't make it today, so I said that I would fill in for him. So we're missing you, Arthur. Hope you feel better soon. There's plenty of food. I know Melissa would want me to tell you that. We want to thank PDS for hosting us today. Glad everybody made it back after our little 3-day vacation, mid-winter treat. People, if anybody's with us online, glad you're here. So we are going to start, but we will have someone pop in for a cute little welcome to PDS in just a couple minutes. So we're going to start and then we'll pause for just a minute when they get in here. Please make sure that you take attendance. If you are here virtually, you want to click this spreadsheet, or people here in person. I'm just doing it now to show you how easy it is. There I am. Well, you know what? This is November. Do we need a February one? Yeah.
Oh, there is a February one. I put the wrong one asleep, didn't I? Hold on.
Okay, don't take attendance on November. We're gonna change that link real quick. If anybody has anyone new, I don't know if anyone hired anybody at the new year. Okay, but if your people are not on there, there's directions on how to add your people. That's real important for us to keep it up to date. Let's see. There it is. So just go and do we just put our initials here? I think so. I think it's just your initials. Show that you were there in that first column, and then you will know. We'll know who's here virtually and in person. So. If anything needs changed, you can highlight that in green, please. November minutes, we need to approve those. Hopefully everyone reviewed those. Is there a motion to approve our November minutes? Lynn, thank you. Second? Who said that?
Melissa.
Melissa, second, thank you.
And now we go by head of school. Yeah, terminology. But he's not looking.
Oh, well then, okay.
Y'all
If you need a restroom, there are two right outside this door here, and then if you're staying for the drone presentation, when you're on the way to the gym where that is located, there's also restrooms near that gym. So just a quick little, thing. You think they're coming? We just might take a
We'll just
little
stop
pause.
whenever they.
Oh, okay. Treasurer report.
Previous balance was $1,862.07. I have a check to give Arthur for $28.98 for the appetizers when y'all did your little field trip. I was unable to go to that, but, I heard it was great. We had a deposit of $30 for, dues. Current balance in the checking account is $1892.07. There are two, pending deposits from Shutter Up. It takes 3 to 5 days for those to go from Shutter Up to our bank account, so those are pending. And with the check, to Arthur, our balance, the beginning of next week, should be $1,923.09.
Great. Again, if your school has not paid their dues, if you're here or watching online or watching the replay of this, it's very important that you do that. We had asked, a couple of years ago, we changed and asked everybody to pay their dues by December, but obviously we will still take your money in January or February. Oh, it's February. So please pay your dues so we continue to be strong and come on in.
And I think it's voting rights.
And that's right, you have to be a paid member to vote, so yes.
And a member of the list. I mean, we say we're going to purge the list, but I don't know if we've done that yet or have ever.
Yes, maybe we haven't purged the list, so maybe that should be done soon, if you
We
are.
did purge it a couple of years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
But I haven't done this.
We probably should look at that. I mean, if people haven't paid this year, the last couple of years, it may be time to remind them, maybe a personal reminder and then purge it. I mean, I just believe.
all right, it was suggested, in case anyone didn't hear that or you couldn't hear online, that we look at the list, who has not paid this year. If they did not pay last year, we need to reach out and contact them, and if they are not paying this year, we need to probably remove them from our list. Does everybody agree with that? Okay, great. All right, we have a special young man here to welcome us today. Would you like to come down front? Okay, he's going to welcome us from the back. Okay, great.
Good morning, welcome to Vegas. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
That's one of sorry. I'm still here. Okay, sorry. Little teary. Okay, that is one of the PDS junior kindergarten boys they brought in to welcome you here. No, we did not do that. Sorry. Okay. So you can pay online. People who haven't paid, it charges you less than $2 if you pay with a credit card, or you can send a check. I guess you can send cash. I don't know. I'd send a check if you're mailing it. And there's Lena's address at Sacred Heart. Okay. There's the credit card link. And here's the list of schools. So please check if you think you've paid and that you're not on there. There's the list of schools. If you need an invoice recently, the past few years, that she put that up for us, an invoice with a receipt. It's perfect to turn in for your school, very easy. All right. Old business. Our minutes say none. It's a real hard meeting to lead, y'all. Anybody else, anybody have old business? Okay, then it is none. New business, we also have none. However, the nominating committee,
In the library, in the new business, we're gonna talk about the library.
Oh, were you gonna talk about that? Yes, okay, so we're gonna change that. The nominating committee has met through email, I guess, it's kind of officially meeting. The nominating committee, I'm the chair, John Seamy, Melissa Smith, and Sarah Casey. And Sarah came up with a great idea, but her schedule today was crazy busy with Grandparents' Day, Book Fair, a whole lot going on. And the day after a snow day, I can't even imagine, but yeah, it's a lot. So John is gonna come up, can you come up so everybody can hear? And he'll, speak to Sarah's idea that the nominating committee thought was a great idea, but we can't just do that without y'all knowing about it, so.
So you've been seeing lots of emails from me because Wendy Trentham, who's leading the effort to reconstitute, reorganize, whatever, the librarians that have kind of been defunct. So just so you kind of know the history of that, like we have Mais-tec, there has been a group called Mais-lic, Library Information Consortium, I think, just like TEC is Technology Education Consortium. So they have been a viable group for many years, and they even solidified that with a contract where a lot of our schools had a common card catalog. At one point, it was probably 6 or 8 of the schools in MAIS had that. The last 3 were us, Lausanne, and St. Mary's. Sarah at St. Agnes was one of the most recent ones to drop out a couple of years ago. They did some reorg in their library and they just felt it wasn't necessary. And it was an interlibrary loan situation and all that. So anyway, we were going to change catalogs this past year, and Wendy met with the other 2 schools, and they just basically decided to disband the contract. So in essence, that kind of disbanded the Mais-lic group. Well, just like with us, there was this desire for them to share ideas. I mean, why reinvent the wheel if you're considering redoing your library and you want to ask the other librarians, hey, do you have any furniture contracts? Have you bought, where do you buy your books from or whatever? So Wendy just kind of started checking with a few of her friends with a few of the schools, and they said, yes, I would be interested. That's a great idea. So, so every meeting this year, I've been promoting this. Well, Wendy, in the last few weeks, she got it put together, and they are having a meeting on Tuesday, February the 21st. So I sent that out just recently to have you send that out to the people. So if you've not gotten your librarian involved yet, please encourage them to get involved with that. I think she's got about 15, 18 in RSVP. There's going to be a physical meeting at MUS, but she's going to make a virtual option. It's hard for people, as we all know, to get away. It's 11:30 to 12:30 on the 21st. Well, in our discussion about the nominating committee, the 4 of us, and Sarah is a librarian at St. Agnes, we thought, we ought to, so much of what we do and the library does involves tech, that maybe we ought to see if we can't do some joint things. You remember we had a joint meeting at MUS last year with the library people, a few came. So we thought it might be a good idea for us as a group to establish a liaison to that group. And for someone to go to the meeting on the 21st, just to say, hey, we're from the tech group, we'd love to do some joint things with you all, whatever. So that's what we proposed as the nominating committee, which is really not our business, but it was because Sarah is one of the librarians. And so we would like to propose, and I'll make it in the form of an amendment or a motion, if you will, that in Mais-tec establish a formal liaison, a person who would be interested in attending their meetings so that we can keep this line of communication open and maybe do some joint things. So, Madam Chair, I propose that Mais-tec initiate that procedure. Dropping something here.
We always worry about this, Lord.
No, gaffers tape there.
No
Tape
gaffers
down.
No,
We have the same problem, Melissa.
oh, of course.
Okay, John's motion requires a second. First, is there any discussion about that, I guess, maybe?
Second.
Great idea,
How
okay?
many of us in here, like, library falls within my department? Does anybody, library, kind of,
All right, would anyone like to second John's motion? Okay, great, thank you. And then, do we do a vote? Okay. Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it was passed. So now,
Who might want to do it?
yeah, would anyone, we didn't ask anyone to do that for the slate because it wasn't official, so we really couldn't. Is anyone interested in being the liaison person between the library and Mais-tec groups?
I vote Sarah.
Well, it's
Sarah's not
already,
been coming to the, I mean, from through virtue of her position now, she's not been coming to the meetings. I mean, she's the most logical. Maybe we should ask her and vote on it in April.
okay,
But in the meantime, since I'm there, the physical meeting is on campus, I don't mind going to the first meeting.
okay.
And if Sarah won't do it, I'll volunteer to do it. But I think you're right. She's our only member who is a librarian.
Right.
And so,
And I would support too, I'll go and make sure that Jenny
yeah,
escapes and can go to the meetings. I mean,
yeah. So let's ask Sarah. I'll ask Sarah and see what she says. If she says yes, then maybe we could do a contingent vote. I mean, I don't know if that's even legal in Robert's Rule of Order, but is there any opposition to Sarah? I mean,
So if Sarah accepts, all in favor?
Yeah.
All right, I think everyone's saying aye because it's not you yourself, so yes.
And then if she doesn't.
If she doesn't, and John will do it, all in favor of John. Okay, so again, it's way to vote for not yourself. Great. Okay, so we have that covered either way. If Sarah declines, John will do it. It's already been voted on and everything's great. Okay. Now, committee reports. I've already told you the nominating committee, and I'm going to, we did some talking to people, and our president for next year is not really on the slate because she's president-elect this year. So our president will be Anicia Scott from Collegiate. And for president-elect, he has agreed. He's been president in the past. No, I'm just kidding. So it's going to be Scott Young from North Point. He said he really wants to get back involved, and we said he has attended meetings virtually. If you haven't seen him this year, he said he's had some troubles getting with it. He assures us he's been on virtually. He's ready to go. Our treasurer.
As has Anisha.
Yes, Anisha has been
She's
on.
been on virtually as well.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. He's here today. Okay. Our treasurer, again, Lena Lover has said yes, one more year. Treasurer is not a fun one to switch over, so bless Lena for doing that another year because you have to get the checks in your name and all that kind of stuff. So thank you again. That's a big job. We appreciate you so much. And our secretary will be Jordan Park from St. Mary's. Thank you so much. He's ready to serve, and we think he may move on up. So he agreed to start as secretary, so that's perfect. And we will vote on those in April.
And keep in mind, just because the nominating committee recommends a slate, anyone who feels compelled can come from the floor. A nomination can come from the floor at the April meeting.
raise your hand if you served. Just saying.
Okay, yes.
We're
Although we did put out an email, like if you're wanting to serve, let us know. So if you are wanting, and we, again, like John said, in April, you can come on. All right. Arthur asked for roundtable discussions. I'm not sure if he got any of those. I don't know if anybody sent anything in, but is the roundtable like after we?
I think so.
Yeah, so we're going to skip that for a minute. Our next meeting date, you want to save the date, April 14th at Briarcrest. So we will be sending out information about that. In the minutes, there's also lots of conference info, if anybody has anything to share about those.
Yeah, I'll add it, but there's a tech day, which may present a problem because it's on our next meeting date. There's a TAIS Tech Day at Christ Presbyterian in Nashville. It's a one-day event. They used to do that. We've had it in Memphis several times. It's April 14th, and it will be, it's good. I mean, I've been on the planning committee, as has Whitney. We've been working on that November, December through January with the lady from TAIS. So, you clearly would probably have to drive up Thursday night because it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, goes till 3 or 3:30. There's about 4 breakout sessions. They have a lot of round tables, keynote speaker. So if there's enough interest, I don't know, we may have to do a survey. Arthur may have to end up moving that meeting, or those of us who are in Nashville may just have to join virtually, I don't know. But that has gone out. If you've not seen that, that is now out for registration. I don't know if you get the TAIS emails, but they just released that last week. As soon as the heads conference was over, which they had Peabody here, she released the tech day. And then of course, we can take I don't know where that Baylor, all that came from. That's old, that was the old one. So the new one has already been announced. It's going to be in the fall at St. George's here in Memphis. And I think they're renaming it. I don't think they're going to call it the biennial anymore because I think they're trying to turn it into an annual conference. They'll still rotate it from West Middle East. And my guess, this is just strictly a guess, we won't see the tech day separate anymore because if they're going to do the biennial annually now, they can just incorporate tech sessions into the biennial event, which will now become an annual event. She said that Sarah, the executive director, president, whatever she is, she said that of all of the state or independent school organizations around the country, we're one of the last 2 or 3 to maintain a biennial. They used to all do it that way, but now they're all have switched to an annual event. So I think this is their move to try to do that. And with it being here in Memphis, that's great. If you've never been before, it's always on a Sunday and a Monday. It starts on at 1 o'clock on a Sunday. There's 2 or 3 breakouts, a keynote. They have a reception for people who are getting awards. And then it's all day on the Monday is how they're going to do it again at St. George's. So it'll be at the St. George's Collierville campus, which is very convenient. A lot of our schools are even closed that day. They give us a day off to support that. So, yeah, that's kind of the expectation is if they're going to give you the day off that, you're going to be there. The call for presenters is out already for that. And that's not just a tech thing. That's third grade teachers and high school AP science teachers and finance people. And it's all aspects of an independent school operation is who the biennial always targeted. And it usually has 12 to 1,500 people. It's a big event. So, if you have something that you would like to consider presenting, put that in as for a call for presenter kind of thing. So we get that going there. Whitney's, I just used your name about the tech day, trying to promote that coming up.
Yes, they're really working hard to get organized and good,
Yeah, it's fewer sessions, but they're trying to go for higher quality sessions. Like each hour only has 2 or 3 options. We're used to 7 or 8 options. On the tech day. Yeah, on the biennial or the annual, whatever they're going to call it, there'll be, dozens because there'll be so many people there.
Is there anybody that is already going on that?
Yeah, who thinks they might go to that?
I'm for sure because I'm on the committee. Sure. Well, you're going to try.
Because it would, is that thing all streamed and stuff too? No, it's all in person. So I was to say, if others were gonna go, I would throw out, see if we could reschedule the April.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if we should. But, anyone think they might go? I might check it out, I don't know, it depends on.
I mean, you could theoretically get up really early and drive up Friday morning and not spend the night. I mean, it starts at 8:30 or so, I don't remember what time the first session was. I mean, you could leave Memphis at 5. You know, Christ Presbyterian is kind of south of Nashville, so you can kind of get up, you don't have to go into the city. So you avoid some of that traffic, so you can get there in under 3 hours easy.
And they're trying to wrap it up at 3.
Yeah, to get people out of town on a Friday. So this used to be on a Monday also, they used to do this on a Monday, but they switched it to this, you know, on Friday, so. But they've got like an Atlas person that's gonna be the keynote. They're bringing in some other social emotional learning person that's gonna be another big session. So if you've not seen it, it's out there and you can go look at the sessions now. And they're continuing to add roundtables. Like they have one whole hour that's roundtables. If you're a tech director, if you are a tech office employee, if you are a teacher, you know, they're trying to do different things with that.
I went
So-
to a round table for tech directors at TETC and was very glad I was at an independent
Yeah.
school. Woo, some of that. It's like, no, we don't deal with that. I kept that in my head, but I was like, weren't you? I mean, I was just like, woo, it's a lot.
I'm thankful every day that I'm not with that.
All right, thank you, John, for all that information. It's not on here, but is there anything social planned?
There will be.
Yeah,
All right, more coming.
Whitney, I'll meet on that.
If you haven't been to the end of the year social,
It's
I
fun.
highly recommend it. It's fun, it's free. There's food
And adult beverages,
and some beverages. I didn't know if that was allowed to be said, but yeah.
it's fun.
It's just a lot of laughs, good time, and no stress, except for y'all who plan it, so thank you for planning that. But we did it at the patio at
Las
Las
Delicious.
Delicious on
We've
Quince.
done salsa
Does
before.
anybody have any suggestions?
I mean, that was a great little patio.
I love what we've been doing. It's
Yeah.
just so relaxing up there. It's a great time of year. It's hot.
Yeah, it wasn't hot.
And they take good care of us there.
They do,
so-
they're not, and it's local, I like that it's local, so maybe that's the last Thursday for those 2 days.
Okay, just be checking your email for that, but that is coming as well. All right, so do we have a motion to adjourn? Yeah, oh,
I have a question, and I should have brought it up with new business. and
I'm
about to
sorry, you
drop a
can't
bomb.
do that.
Huh?
No, I'm just
I'm
kidding.
about to drop a bomb on the whole group. Think about it, because I don't know what to do. I mean, I have an idea what to do. Number one, thank you for letting me be part of this group as a charter school. I was just saying that it's kind of nice not having voting rights, because I don't have the pressure of either serving or voting. I'm just here, you know, enjoying the benefits. All right, here's my take on our weird relationship in the district of charter schools. We exist, but we're kind of the redheaded stepchildren of the district. Everything is kind of last minute, and it's, the charter school office does a great job of trying to bridge that. In being here for 5 years and knowing a lot of you for much, much longer than that, I know we're all 21 years old still. Think about the idea, what if Mais-tec was also charter schools? Right now, there's nothing for us. I've been trying for 4 years to convince the charter school office to do a charter school ed tech meeting, a charter school ed tech group, a charter school ed tech anything, and it's just no. Because I don't think they really, I'm preaching to the choir, no one understands technology and how much we do in the school until the internet doesn't work, or laptop doesn't work, you know, but there's no there's never been proactive thought into that. I'm still working through that. But that's one of my ideas, is to approach the group and say, what if you all open it up to not only independent schools, but even it could be pseudo independent schools, but we'll take the charter school folk as well. The other option is I just start up my own charter school, hosted at Crosstown High, it's kind of like what we're doing here. I just don't want to replicate something that is been going great, going smoothly in this group, just to kind of navigate that. I know you are independent schools, but honestly, charter schools, we feel like we're independent schools. We just have to follow the rules of the district still.
So we've had this discussion because we do want to include everybody all the time. So we've had this discussion when I believe the municipality schools and Wanda, because I think the 1 year Wanda, we tried to
Well, it
go
goes back to
Wanda.
me, because I've been coming for years.
Yeah.
But because we are affiliated with Mais, there are rules and regulations. So if we consider doing something like that, we are no longer able to use the Mais name. So it's not, I mean, I guess that's up to our group where, how we see ourselves in the future. But if we want to be associated with Mais, that's we can't. If you want to start up something for your group, I would think that we would support all of your efforts, and I would think that we could even have mesh meetings sometime, but if we keep Mais, then we can't combine. Anybody else?
And that's basically what our bylaws say.
Yeah.
And we have 2 levels of membership. One, full membership is open to Memphis Associated Independent Schools, member schools, as well as other independent and parochial schools in the Memphis and surrounding areas. Associate membership is open to other educational institutions and technology professionals at the discretion of the officers. And that's what you are as an associate member. Wanda is, and she's got other people from Lakeland who come. I was, before I left and kept with WS.
Wasn't Tiffin associated, or were they weren't Mais, they weren't Mais, but. So we've had the same, we've had this discussion, so it's really kind of how you want to move forward. You're more than welcome to join, bring others, invite others to be associate.
Yeah.
But.
I know, it's all right.
Your name actually came up to run for an office.
It did.
But it's only open to full members. My name came up many years ago. Wanda's name has come up. People who could, like.
No, I mean, I get it. It's, even if we
Just like Wanda, I mean, I think as many people that want to come.
Oh, yeah.
I mean.
and I think eventually we'll probably end up just, honestly getting with Wanda and say, hey, let's spin up our own, but still be connected to you all as associate members. I see a great wealth of resource. Every time I've been here for the past 5-6 years, it's been
Could
great.
y'all come meet? Would it be something where they could come, like you're here today, y'all all come here, and then maybe just ask the place who's hosting, can we have an extra 15 minutes, and y'all go, at the end of the meeting, y'all do your own thing for 15-20 minutes maybe? That way we're not pulling, like, these resource people are gonna rehab them no longer, but that way, I mean, it would seem like that would be feasible where we could all still share the same information, and if y'all need to split for the, at the end of the meeting, hold that, your little own meeting or something.
Yeah.
And they
I think
can
that's a
join
great way
our
to start.
listserv.
Yeah,
Especially if we have like, a speaker and a presenter. I mean, because then you could take advantage of that opportunity, and strengthen numbers and people coming to the event.
If I
and you're
serve
not
you-
missing multiple
Yes.
days
Right.
for meetings, y'all could just all meet on those days.
Right.
I mean, you've already had us come to your place, so.
Multiple times.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
I did have one more thing, and I'm gonna open the can of worms and also chat GPT.
Oh, that was gonna be our
That's on
roundtable
the
since we
roundtable.
went turn that in, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
All right, so does anybody make a motion to end our meeting and then we'll get in the roundtable about chat? Motion to end, dismiss, yes?
Moved to
Okay.
adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion by John, second by Lynn to adjourn the meeting. Thank you for being here. If you need to leave, you can, but now we're gonna do a roundtable about Chat GPT.
And then we'll have our
And then, yes,
presentation.
that's at what time, 10?
No, he's gonna present in here too. He's presenting 45 minutes in here on drone technology.
Oh, I didn't know.
That's part of the round.
What time does that start?
10:15.
Okay, so,
10:10.
okay, we have a few minutes to talk about Chat GPT, if y'all want to talk about that, and then we have the drone presentation and lunch if you're staying for that.
And please get seconds. It smells over here, sweet.
I was gonna say, it smells good.
It smells really good. Help me not eat it. Take it.
You changed your whole bottle.
Yeah.
All right, anybody come on up to the mic.
Well, I'm not gonna, I'll just stay right here. What? Okay, we've been doing so much research on it. I'm presenting on our in-service for President's Day. Most of our teachers I've talked to, who, believe it or not, they don't know much about it at all, if anything. Especially I talked to some middle school teachers the other day, now a few high school teachers, yes. Yeah, because we've run into issues with that. But below that, not so much. What are your teachers, what are they saying? How do they feel about it? And what is your school doing about it?
Nothing about that.
We didn't block it yet.
Yeah,
We have not blocked it.
We're running with it like scissors. We're
We had to
allowing.
block it like the week it came out because our kids were cheating on it already.
Securely in
November.
November, securely, we have securely, and they were blocking it, and I don't know if you all got the email, but they were going to unblock it on the 13th. And let you decide what you want to do. So if you had securely, and you didn't know they were already blocking it for you, and you're gonna open it on the 13th. For people to decide how they want to handle it themselves.
I presented it to our faculty after school and at Tech PD, just briefly shared about it and said, this is out there, just want y'all to know. And I gave some examples like compare and contrast the main characters in Romeo and Juliet, and then showed them what it kind of came up with. I think, and I may be not the norm feeling here, it's not going away.
No.
I'm right there with you.
And if you block it, they're still gonna use it on their phone or their home iPad or whatever. And if it gives them good, like someone came into my office and said, I was thinking about maybe, because a middle school assignment, they had to talk about how the ECS community is and what they feel strongly about. And they said they were having some problems. And I was thinking, it's some of our lower kids, I was thinking I could have used that Chat GPT. So we just pulled up what makes a good school community. And then we read it. Now, this is a teacher myself, and she said that would have given them great talking points. Like, it is a good starting point. If you don't have, like, it said a good school community, it gave me like 2 paragraphs on it. And then we said, now the kids could have read that, have them read that, and then say, now tie that into what you have here at ECS. And I went, oh yeah, that would have been, that would have been great. So it's not going away. There are things there's a site where you can put it in if you think they didn't type it, but like, if you read it, it's very obvious that a kid didn't write it unless they just change up a few words here and there. But like, you can put it into this website and say, okay, yeah, that was AI generated or
They
whatever.
tell you like a 70% likely it came from an AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put in all sorts of stuff, and it said every single thing, and some of the stuff we wrote ourselves, and it said it was almost 100% written by AI, but we wrote it. Adults, yeah, people at my school wrote it. Yeah.
But I also think it's a good lesson to tell your kids, like, we need to tell students, yes, this is out there, but 1, you're cheating. Now, whether they have the morals of that bothers them or not, we can't control that. 2, if you do that here or at a college, you're gonna get caught. you know, like, gonna be the repercussions of using it, is how I see it. But like, if it gives them some good starter, it's like, here's your, what's it called at the beginning of the paragraph, main idea, and then you give the details to fill in on that, maybe it just sparks their
Remember
writing
when-
stuff.
That's a great way of using
You
it.
remember when we did not allow students to have calculators at school?
Right.
It's
I mean,
that.
people wanted to block Google, when Google first came out.
Right.
I mean, so I'm in the camp with Cindy. I'm not a advocate for blocking it. We've not blocked it yet, but I don't think that that's my decision to make. So we're trying to get it, some roundtables, some discussion at MUS about it, and then let the faculty, let the academic dean, let the principals say, John, you need to block this. But I don't, that's dictated down from the top, and I don't want to do that. So, but I agree that it can be a good first draft starter. These are, quotes you should check out. I mean, it's not going away. You had to have been living under a rock if you didn't know anything about it. It passed the Wharton School of Business. It's passed a law school entrance exam. APA, Chicago, MLA, they all have ways to cite ChatGPT now, artificial intelligence. Microsoft is building it into all of their products. So the next versions are going to have AI built into their products. I mean, it's not going to, Google is going that direction as well. So I think we have to encourage them to learn to live with
I
it.
completely agree. I think teachers need to learn, but I think it's going to change how teachers teach.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna have to switch it. Who told us about it were students who were frustrated that other students were using it to cheat and write their papers and do stuff like that. And so that's when the principal said, okay, let's just block it for now. We're gonna just test this, see what happens, and then go from there. And so we've been researching and since then, trying to figure out how are we gonna train our teachers. Some of our teachers that have found out about it are just flipping out, of course, because they're gonna have to change how they teach. They can't just say, go home and write a 5-paragraph theme anymore. It doesn't work that way anymore, because they can just put it through that. And what we were talking about earlier, it's really your underachievers. Your lower students probably wouldn't be able to write that way and they'll be taught anyway. Your upper level students are gonna write their paper. It's your underachievers that are just they're smart, but too lazy to do their work. That's who we've been having issues with. Yeah.
So I'm having a launch with the younger kids, and they're too afraid to cheat-ish, kind of, or they're not writing essays and resumes yet. So I seeded it, and I've only done one homeroom so far, but I'm rolling it out as a tool that's not gonna go away. And so we went down the moral question type path about whether or not you're using it to aid or do. And then we also talked about because of that podcast because I know I shared my link thing out, there's a podcast that I listened to, and we talked about the state of the algorithm or the computer's database being of a baby, and because they wanted to throw in all sorts of stupid kid type topics.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, we can't do something stupid or or naughty because we don't want to damage this brain. We don't want to go and start teaching it this naughtiness. And then we were talking about having bad interactions or moments, and how that can start correcting and becoming more familiar with, ugly words or different. So we talked about getting more comfortable with naughtiness. And then we also talked about that Netflix documentary about code bias and how we are all teaching ChatGPT. And so the knowledge that we're teaching them is being entered by humans, which are naturally sinners and incorrect, and we have our own opinions. And so we have to be very, very careful about the kind of content we're uploading into this machine. And they really captured that, like they clicked, they started using it for better, they wanted better queries. But one kid did spot the cheating on the speech. So, I mean, I do know, John, you will need some tool for your people. Sorry about that. But I thought it was really cool having that conversation about, just about what these algorithms are and how we are now the programmers putting in the data, and we need to stop and think about what kind of data we're doing. And it's not even being purposefully manipulative. It's just our own experiences that we're teaching those machines.
And it's already a part of what we do. I mean, it's built at Siri and all that. I mean, so many things part of our lives. Grammarly. So, I just think we have to be proactive and incorporate it because it is not going to go away. If you haven't heard, they released a new version this week that incorporates math. And then they've added a subscription service, which, that tells you how good the non-subscription service is going to be.
Right.
And so, if a kid doesn't pay the $20, it's $20 a month.
Yeah, it's 20 months.
Yeah, if you don't pay the $20 a month, I mean, how good is the paper going to be anyway?
I don't think it's a question of the quality of the output as much as the question of how much bandwidth you're being provided, whether it's a limited number of queries or whether you're in
You don't have to wait.
a queue, because it's been hard to get in. I know I've talked to plenty of faculty at our school who have wanted to play with it, but they were.
Once you
They're on the waiting
get in,
list.
you're pretty much in.
Right.
I don't ever close that web browser so
Right.
that I can go back to it.
Yeah.
Because once I'm in, I'm in. But if I ever close that window and try to go back in, it takes me forever to get back in.
I will say that one of the things, because it's really easy to kind of, essentially, doom scroll with this concept. But I do think talking about some of the positive things is helpful. Specifically, if you need help with explaining something in less complicated language, asking it for that is a good thing. Also, if you do stuff, and this is stupid, but if you do stuff in Excel and say, hey, I'm using Microsoft Excel and I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z, it will give you a formula. And it is stuff that I've taken hours working on trying to figure a formula out. And give you
I showed my teachers too, like, we had a history teacher who's in my office and she was like, I'm trying to figure out ideas on them to teach about Lincoln getting shot in Ford Theater. And I put in ideas for doing that, and it came up with 7 different ways. So, I mean, your teachers can use it for ideas. Not saying they're the greatest lesson plans ever, but it might be like, oh, that's a new way to teach that. I might try that.
Right. It's support. It's helping. I mean, we have our digital music class using it to create digital music, poems, just to get started and create that framework. Then you go in and start editing what it just cranked out because you didn't like certain words it uses. But again, with great power, if we're trying to teach, part of the ISTE standards is creating responsible digital citizenship. This is it. And I love the way you're building on that at the lower level, and teaching kids that we're, dirty data. We're trying to clean data, put it in so that we have this robust, but it's not going away.
And it's just one up, look at the whole Dolly too, the art thing. That's been out for a while, and there's whole discussions, ethics discussions about people submitting stuff into contests and things that they did through artificial intelligence, and not through it or did it on the computer. It's there's dozens of these sites. ChatGPT is just the latest.
So Dolly, I couldn't figure out why I would use it, so I didn't use it for church, and that's fine. A little weird on some of the imagery. But Casey, y'all know my husband's a painter, and he's a music guy, so they're about to launch a new CD, and so he was pondering his new cover and trying to ideate the imagery. And so we started pumping all the words, and it gave him validation that his idea would work, and it gave him a launching point of what he will end up putting together at some point. But I mean, I had no idea about thinking it that way. And think about all the infographics we have to use, and then we can throw in the little treat, instead of having to promise a Jeans Day, we can say, how many odd things do you see in this infographic?
I mean, real estate
You know,
agents,
little, what are this called? Easter eggs, like,
real estate agents are saying they will never write a home description again.
never.
They'll put in the features of the home they're trying to sell, 3 bedrooms, pool, you know, 8 tenants, and it'll write a description that they'll put out in their ads.
We're seeing it for report card comments too.
Yeah.
Chat and Dolly are dealing too. And is there another one that I
Not
don't know? I'd
yet.
like to go play.
Well, I
Also,
know,
ChatGPT and Dolly.
interesting enough, I have a college student, and so when we started discussing, and emails started coming out, I was like, so obvious, I was like, just kind of playing dumb, I said, do you know about ChatGPT? And he's like, yeah. And they do, they all know it. And I said, have you used it? He said, nah, I got to write my own paper. He said, but I know of several of my, I know several people who wrote their final papers and turned them in. And I said, well, how'd they do? And he said, well, they got an A in the class. And I said, well, then their teachers must not have really read their papers. And he said, exactly.
And you did cheat all through life.
Yes.
And it is a life lesson.
And when you do get caught,
You have.
then you pay the consequences. And so it is one of those where if you are relying on this tool, then eventually it is gonna come back to, you know, in a sense, haunt you. Or like we're having to, in terms of the terminology and things like that as teachers, we're gonna have to read things more carefully so that we can catch some of those errors and things like that.
Well, the question is too, I mean, if it's this new, how quickly are college professors able to, you know, pivot and like jump on this and decide what to do? I know they've written some programs to try to catch it, but like Liz said, they tested it, it was told everything.
So OpenAI, the parent company of ChatGPT, they're supposedly trying to create their own. So it'll detect
Did you see?
their own stuff.
Billions of dollars are being pumped in?
Yeah.
Billions. Like,
It's not going away.
All right, on that, I think it might be good for us to continue this discussion at our April meeting after our crest. So gather your thoughts for the next month or so and we can, continue this discussion. But for right now, I'm gonna turn it over to John, who's gonna introduce our speakers.
Great. Yeah, I saw Brandon present. I've heard of rocket drones. It's been out. He's been doing these presentations that you're going to see later, the after party. He's been doing these at schools all back in the fall, and I saw he done on East Tennessee and Middle Tennessee, and I kept wondering why hasn't anyone gotten one over here in West Tennessee yet? And so TITA got involved, and Central Technologies has been involved with him, and so I've been very curious about it. But how many of y'all remember Lisa Dufer, who used to work in the county? Okay, she was at St. Benedict, her last job. I knew she had this inside drone thing going on before she left St. Benedict, and that's been a year or so ago, 2 years maybe. He was involved in that. So Brandon Turk is our presenter today. He is the CEO of Mid-South Aerials. That's the name of the company. So y'all, he's going to talk about drone technology in general. I mean, he's not here for this part of the show to tell us, why we should be buying rocket drones. That's the after party for you to see it and know that his company does this as well, and they're marketing this to schools. But I saw his presentation, he did what he did on the TTC, on drone technology in general. And I mean, y'all, it's fascinating. I mean, we think we know everything there is to know about drones, but you're going to be amazed at some of the stuff he's going to tell us today. So that's the last part of the morning presentation before we break and go see the rocket drones in the gym, is to tell us a little bit more about drones in general and how the role they play in our lives and in businesses and how he's made a living off of this. So Brandon, I'm reading part of a bio here. Brandon spent 10 years in the Navy, working primarily with the Defense Department. He's a licensed airplane pilot, certified drone pilot. His drone skills are so good that he once wrote the curriculum for Steve Wozniak's WozEd drone program. If you didn't know, Woz is the co-founder of Apple. Brandon says he's lived at every submarine base in America, a claim no one cares to dispute. He's married to Bailey. They have a son, Lincoln, who I think goes here. Hardy, I'm sorry. Daughter Reagan and their cat Mittens runs the household. So this is Brandon Turk with Mid-South Aerials and Rocket Drone.
Thank you. I didn't know there was an introduction. I hate introductions. All these keynote speeches, everybody walks up, they have their giant paragraphs and all their doctorate degrees. And they're like, what do you want to say about you, Brandon? Like, I just fly drones. My living, I get paid to fly a little $10,000 toy and take pictures. I liked your comment, first of all, the redhead stepchild. We're already friends. So the presentation can be interesting depending on how involved y'all get. A lot of what we're going to do is really talking to you, pulling in your questions on general technologies, everything that touches drone, but not just UAV. The background of how we got here is semi-interesting. I'll tell you about that, and we'll dive in on the current tech. Hopefully y'all can stay for the racing portion. We do run Mid-South Aerials here in Memphis. We started out in 2014. Prior to that, I was with BlackBerry, phones with buttons. Back when I used to get work done versus playing stupid games on my iPhone all day. Very inefficient now. I did that, got into drones in 2014, before DJI existed, and we used to actually build, our drones about the size of these tables that we operate. We built them in-house. What we found as we started growing these drone companies, we have a sister company down in Pensacola, Florida called Pelican, is the need for drone pilots is non-existent. I mean, the need is so big, but the pilot pool is non-existent. When we went to grow our company, we do the power line inspection for MOG&W. We're currently flying the Ford Mega site. We do a lot of the industrial surveillance type work. When I need a pilot, I need someone that I can send out to do a power line inspection. When prop number 8 stops working on their 8-motor drone, they're calling me up going, hey, the drone broke, come back to the office. You can't grow a company like that. Get your butt in your truck, diagnose the problem, fix it, and go back to work. Was it 2 years ago, we had the big snowstorm? Here, we got too big, we got 2 inches. We're out flying power lines. Drones don't like cold weather, maintenance and things are needed. How does MOG&W, how do the how's the public feel when it's like, hey, we can't work today, our drone's broken? That doesn't cut it. The other side is so many pilots that are existent in the world rely on automation. So I've got one of the DJIs in the gym, just a little $2,000 toy drone. We're flying that, let's say I get nervous or my phone starts ringing, I just hit the pull button. I can do whatever I want, that drone will just stay there. Okay, if I give you one of my $70,000 drones and send you on the power line, you better not be hitting hold to go talk to your girlfriend. You better be controlling that aircraft. GPS fails. This new Cat 5 stuff they're running with cell towers, the LTE, what do they call it? Help me out.
5G.
Thank you. The 5G nightmare. Signals are getting interfered everywhere now. It's not a matter of automation. We need pilots that can manually control those aircraft. So think pre-Tesla versus Tesla. Get in your car, have autopilot, which as soon as it's fully set, I'm on board because I live in my truck and I hate driving. But we need people that can actually take the steering wheel and go. That didn't exist. So we were fortunate to work with Lisa Furr over at St. Benedict, wrote some curriculum for their school so that we would have a pool to start hiring for them just personally. We got a phone call from Wozni as assistant saying, hey, we work with the Apple education side of things. We want you to come work with us. So we hung up on them because Apple doesn't call little redheaded guys in Tennessee. I called the school laughing about it, and they're like, yeah, that's real. You should probably call them back. So we spent 3 years working with laws, and that was a blast. And then the beauty of Popeye's Chicken came out, who defied the Lord's Chicken, Chick-fil-A, and COVID came out. I said, chill. I still haven't had the KFC chicken, but I've heard it's good. Well, that was the internal one. So COVID hit us. So we spent the next 2 years at the request of New York State building rocket drones that we'll talk about. But the drone and technology side, what I want you to think about at the school level, isn't just a drone as a UAV or an airborne piece of equipment. A drone, if you can get a student interested in a drone, you're touching multiple levels of technology. The Roomba vacuum cleaners that drive around our houses and bump into things and suck everything up runs the same power distribution board as any drone on the shelf or off the shelf. Your DeWalt power drills, your electric lawnmowers, even the Tesla Model 3, the motors, the brushless motors running those equipment are the same principle as what's inside of a drone. The drone's just a fun way to get kids thinking and realizing that something to do with that projector is probably similar to what I have inside of my drone, right? We run cameras, we have radio waves and signal waves. The drone's just a fun way to engage your students in multiple levels of activities and also find out what their personality types are. you're type A, type B, as you go through who they are. You may be a type A, I'm ready to fly, let me get in here and start flying this drone. But you may have no interest in flying, but you're like, why do the props spin different directions? How does the drone know how high to go when you hit these levers? So you're more interested in the programming side, the coding, the radio waves, the video waves. So you can learn who your students are, and then also we want you using that inside of your school to talk to other departments. One of the things that's always driven me crazy is history doesn't talk to math, doesn't talk to English. Everybody's segregated when it comes to education in their classroom. You know, they have their little bubble they live in. Use drone as a bridge to bring all those things together. So does any of y'all teach math? Work in math? So I tell you, hate math. So Netha here, actually, I'm just gonna say hi. This is Netha.
Hi, everyone.
She's at the University of Memphis. She's the smartest person on our team. She's like brain surgeon status. She's currently helping us out for revamping our math sections. But getting these kids to realize and recognize math, science, and chemistry is where their future's gonna be, whether they like it or not. Coding is gonna be whether they like it or not. Everything that they're gonna be doing. It was so hard for me to sit quiet because y'all were talking about ChatGPT. I've seen so many things inside of that. There's a lot of algorithms and subroutines coming out to help detect those things. But we didn't even use it. On our timer gate system we built for Rocket, we had one line of code that we were just beating our heads against a wall. And one of our tech guys works for the Navy, of course. He got in, put it in, and we had a misplaced semicolon. And now it's like perfection. I'm like, how many thousands of dollars did we just spend on having different code people review this, and ChatGPT did that fast?
Right.
But you also be careful with ChatGPT. And anything online, you talk about Grammarly, great, but when you get into the business side, everything I write in Grammarly is now owned by that backend company. So I don't want to put my business plan and my thoughts and ideas of the future company into it then like Grammarly. And now they can take it and run with it. That's the fine print, you know, you scroll through 30 pages and get I agree and download the game. Just don't do anything confidential, you're good. Your business ideas keep on paper. Several schools are actually moving back into the pen and paper type atmosphere. When you're doing your testing in school, they come in with their paragraphs or essays, they hand it in, great, thanks, have a seat, grab your pen and paper, go ahead and rewrite that homework you did last night. Amazing difference. Scary as all get out. Y'all see that movie I, Robot with Will Smith? Yeah, think about that on steroids and way more scary. It terrifies me. That's the main reason I stay in technology, so I try to stay a little bit ahead of how scary it is. But what we'll do is on the drone side, I'm gonna let y'all ask questions about what you're using drones for, what you think there are, careers, tech side, whatever y'all have and think about. What are y'all's questions on the drones currently? Or are you burning drones in your school? Yes, sir.
And I was just gonna say, Danny Calvin spoke to you about our new Project X that we're starting, and drone building, drone flying, drone programming will be a pivotal part of that. As a professional who's flying, I'm a recreational drone flyer. I can't do FPV yet. I tend to get vertigo, and so I have to be seated when I'm doing that. But when you all are flying, is it just line of sight using your controller, or do you see a definite push towards FPV where everybody's goggled up and they're literally just flying through FPV versus just the LCD on the stick? I mean,
Good question. Both. So here locally, when we're doing power line inspections, the Land Cruiser's got TVs mounted like crazy, mainly because all the engineers want to stand on my shoulder and I don't like to be touched. And so I stand back to the side of the truck when the engineers stand around the truck. So with those, we're just using high definition screens because we can zoom in and zoom. But if it's really bright or sunny outside, we goggle up. We can take away everything else. The second I put on those goggles, I have to have a second or even a third pilot on site with me to maintain my line of sight because I can no longer see the aircraft. So staying within the FAA regulations. The biggest need going forward in the future, though, is going to be FPV. So we've all seen, remember when drones first came out, you'd see a drone shot on TV and you're like, oh, drone shot. You know, they didn't use a helicopter. We can fly a drone for $300 to $400 an hour operating costs versus $1,000 an hour with a helicopter. Which before drones, we used to lean out of our airplane, Piper Cub, with the telephoto lenses and take pictures. I loved it. To me, drones are way more boring because I used to get to fly every week. Now I don't. But one day. But on the FPV side, these nice steady shots that you see, that's old news, right? It's not exciting. The newest Porsche commercial, I have the YouTube, I can pull it up. They're flying around a hot air balloon in the Middle East. then they duck, they dive, they follow in behind a Porsche. And if you've seen this commercial, rocks are flying back. They're carrying a $45,000 Red Dragon. That's the type of camera that we utilize. On top of just a $5,000 drone. So the technology and sensors are where the money's at. Drones are disposable. But they're flying in behind this Porsche where rocks are coming back. That camera got trashed at the end of the shoot. But to a Porsche commercial, 40 grams pennies, right? They toss it out. But that's utilizing an FPV pilot. Reason being, I cannot have any peripheral distractions, and I need that instant feed of every second of what I see. Because when I come in for those maneuvers, you've just got to have that instant thing with no lag. Also the distance. You know, there are waivers that actually are 700 feet in altitude. They can't see my drone that far, so I can't see what's happening. So FPV, and you'll see on the rocket drone side, we've moved heavy into that because there's no way I'm going to give you an aircraft with an expensive payload and let you start trying to learn how to fly. We need pilots that come out, already know how to handle a fully manual aircraft, and then we can attach it. We're much more confident in putting that in your hands because now you know the basis and the fundamentals. In Ukraine, you know, we see a lot on the war side already where they're going in, dropping bombs. They're recruiting high schoolers like crazy. These kids are playing Xbox, PlayStation, they're doing all these games. This is where it's at. They're already used to it. They're the primary pilots over there. And then in industry, we're also finally starting to adapt to our students. So on the submarine side, I work with the Navy. You know, submarines, if you watch the movies, used to have the big old steering wheels, big metals. Down periscopes were my favorite. But they're doing that. Our newest innovation in retrofits is right here. These high school, these college kids are driving $1 billion submarines using something that looks like an Xbox controller. It's off the FPV side, but it shows how the e-sport gaming side. But yes, line of sight is always going to be important when you're doing real estate, basic things like that. But for your advanced flight, FPV is going to become that main staple. I'm like you, I'm not an FPV pilot. We have chairs included, so you have to sit down. Otherwise, to me, it's funny. I ask the group, who don't we like? God will love them, stand in the middle, and then we just watch them tumble. So does anybody here you don't like?
The first time I goggled up, I fell backward. I mean that the sensation is great.
Right.
It's gotten better transmission-wise, video-wise.
Yes.
But if you've ever put on a pair of goggles and flown your DJI and there's no chair behind you, get ready to, because you literally, and I love that the cinematography and film has changed the drone because movies like Ambulance, drone shots that are just, you can't do it with a helicopter, but
right.
Just seeing, and I'm like you, when I watch a movie, I'm like drone shot.
Right, fly through the corridor,
Right.
chase the guy. That used to be a 10-foot boom, attached. Our truck used to have those mounts. We work a lot in the race car world. We hold contract for National Super Speedway. So it was the truck, the big gimbal systems on top. Now we have drones to 120 FAA. We do 100 miles an hour. Chase some race cars around the track.
Yeah.
So now he actually just graduated high school. He's on DRL on TV. I pay my pilot $1,500 a day, and he sits there with his goggles on chasing cars all day. It's like, gosh, I wish I was that skilled because he makes way more money than I do. But he's goggled up. He has his assistant sitting there monitoring the aircraft, monitoring the car. But that's where the TV commercials are coming from. So, yep, FPV, line of sight, I'd say both, but the future's going to be everything FPV, especially with the remote operating world. Caterpillar now we're talking with, they're running, everything's based out of Vegas. I don't know if it's the bandwidth or what, but Caterpillar just opened up a remote operating system where their operators are sitting in Vegas, controlling forklifts, bulldozers, and diggers in North Carolina.
Right.
All remote trucks that have LiDAR and 360 cameras. So the world's moving remote, which is scary.
Farming a drone, that's a whole, spraying, instead of you paying for a crop duster and renting, you've got 4 drones just spraying your entire, 10, 12 acres of land, just.
Right.
So I've got a friend whose husband is into drones, and his business, he goes for courts, and he uses the drone to go get footage of different areas. And so he just travels globally, going and getting footage using his drone. And then his son has been a baby pilot, and has been playing with drones. So now he at Christmas has a side gig teaching other kids whose parents bought them drones how to use the drones, and is making bank just giving out those lessons. I have a question regarding the virtual reality part of visual thing.
Absolutely.
So we went on the Google Tilt Brush with the HTC whatever the high by, whatever it was. And then I found out that younger kids shouldn't put virtual goggles on because of the development of the eye to the brain, and the depth perception for the youngins hadn't meshed enough yet. So that the doctors are recommending we're like 13 and up, and so that puts me in a weird position. So we have to start first with like our level, drones without the goggles. But that, we've tried it with a couple years ago, without the protecting leg thing. Can you kind of give me an idea of like how I should start with the younger kids in bringing drones into education where I don't buzz each other's ears and stuff?
Right.
It was kind of chaotic.
Absolutely. So never bring a drone into your classroom that's not ducted, which means there's no propeller guards or solid frame around it. Especially in battery powered, KV is like horsepower. You get to a higher KV motor, Mythbusters did a test where it's like, yeah, cut your finger off. That was also 6 years ago.
Yes.
My drones will cut a lot more than your fingers off, not the school drones.
Yes.
Not big ones, big drones. So that's where rocket starts at grade 6 for that reason, on the goggle side. Okay. Races are also only 3 minutes. So you're 3 minutes in, out. Whereas when you get into like Oculus, which is a super cool technology, when you're spending hours in it, that can be dangerous.
So 3 minutes, is that what you are?
That's an average race. I can't speak to the medical side.
Okay,
Our races are timed at 3 minute cycles, because within that, there's just no prolonged exposure to it.
okay.
And you're so engaged in that. At the end of that, that's enough excitement. Which y'all see, we have goggles in there, we'll put the drone up, you'll actually get the goggle up, you'll ride along and experience that feeling. For the younger kids, we're actually building our 3rd through 5th grade coursework right now using line of sight only drones. So you can get drones off Amazon. I give you recommendations. There's drones for $100 a piece. You can get off Amazon. They're pretty good. They'll last you 6 to 8 months, depending on how you want to take care of them. Depending on what you want to teach them, we always start line of sight, even in the racing world. Before you're allowed to goggle up, you have to prove your flight skills using line of sight flying. So starting with the younger kids is better, and that's going to be in all of your categories. The other good part about you starting in the younger ages is when we're talking to industry, they're telling us these kids do not have enough exposure to math, science, and chemistry, especially in math. By the time a student gets into high school, freshman year, they decide they want to go into a career utilizing math, it's too late. They may not already have the prerequisites to get into the algebra 2 calculus. Calculus will be very important in the future. I can say that because I'm not good at it. But start them out at that younger age. They don't have to love it, but we've got to instill that thought process of, okay, us, we're similar age. When we were in school, I slept through every hour for class. When I passed with a C-, I celebrated because I'm never going to use this in life. And now here I am every day having to force feed myself math because the way the world's changing. So we want the kids starting out at that young age. You don't have to love it, but stay on top of it. And here's why.
So what kind of math are you like algebra math? I've only taught 3rd grade, up to 3rd grade, so I stopped at long division. But what kind of type of math problems would you generate to get them thinking besides landing and taking off?
So with the kids, the basic math, miles per hour, speed equals time over distance. We're going to set up our tape measure. We're going to send the drum with the stopwatch. That's math. That's very basic. Nella's working with us on recreating our geometry. Geometry is big. As I'm flying a drone, especially in the racing world, if I'm going around a gate, that arch that I make, depending on how many degrees it is, I can go around nice and smooth, or I can go high, utilizing gravity, flip my butt out, and thrust through. So there's math and angles, and a lot of it. So we use a lot of geometry. It doesn't matter what math you're teaching, it's just instilling the fact that you will use math, so you need to stay involved in it. I think I would enjoy math if I had been able to learn it a little bit better. The only downside I have to coming up military, we moved every 18 months, submarine world. I had so many 1st, 2nd through 5th grade teachers, we moved mid-year. I didn't really have an opportunity to learn math. And I know math support. Back in the day, I was doing grammar, but now I can't hardly recall it.
Grammarly.
Grammarly, yes. It's funny, working with the New Yorkers, I'm like, hey, folks, we're coming up in April, can't wait to see y'all. And they're like, where are you from? I'm from America.
So does your stuff come with that curriculum already written all out and everything?
On the rocket drone site, yes.
But you are still working on third through fifth?
Correct, that's something we just started, we've had so many requests for it. The rocket drones program right now is 6th grade to 12th grade. That's designed on the career path. So that's where we actually will challenge a lot of y'all. When we move into an area, so East Tennessee is rolling, several other states are rolling. When we move into Memphis, we look for major industry, so introductions of FedEx, AutoZone, International Paper, things like that. What we do in our curriculum, we can write curriculum all day long. If it doesn't help you at the end of the day, it's worthless. So we work with key partners in the industry world. We ask, what are your hiring needs in the next 7 to 10 years? And then if they're willing, we sit down, we'll write curriculum into our program. Because again, aviation touches everything one way or another. FedEx has thousands of miles of conveyor belts. It's a brushless DC motor that keeps FedEx running. The drone has that. So we write that portion of curriculum into the program. And the goal in each of the areas we move into is telling these companies, hey, when you're ready to hire, here's the schools running these programs. Hire our kids. Stop importing people. And you go from California, I'm sorry, but stop bringing the Californians to Tennessee. And you go from California. I lived there a lot. It was beautiful. But now that I have trees and horses, like we couldn't pay me in California. But that's the curriculum side. The grades 3 through 5, there won't be a ton of curriculum with that. That's going to be more activities. If you put too much focus on the work side, you're actually going to burn out. So the 3 through 5 is going to be getting those ground principles ready, altitude, lift, thrust, gravity, the general aviation items you need to know, and having a ton of fun. And then as they go through, when they hit 6th grade, you just better prepare your racers for the red circuit as well. Good question. Other questions?
What about the future of all this that we see with deliveries and these companies? I mean, what do you see in that? How's all that working? And is anybody more advanced than anybody else yet on that?
Yes. I'm not sure which video I'm going to try to find that one for why. We're just having a look. If you're down with it. Ask it one more time. Just like
The delivery stuff that we're seeing and hearing about.
not going to see it in Tennessee because we have rednecks. And every redneck in Tennessee would be like, let's see what I got for Christmas. I thought the same thing. I was like, let's relax, right? Where do we reach strong? We will see that. It is happening. It's already being used, especially in the corporate world. So company XYZ needs to deliver an alternator from point A to point B. It will go there to the store. As far as it going to individuals' houses, it will happen, but it's not going to be anytime soon. We're still trying to figure out the highways of the air, right, like the Jetsons. So right now, my altitude limitations are 400 feet above ground level, 400 AGLs where I'm allowed to fly. From 400 to 600 is our helicopters. Above that, you have different types of air. Now, just because that's law doesn't mean it's followed. Especially here in Memphis, our lifeline hospitals, they duck in low altitude a lot. So you're always listening to your radio scanners, listening to bird flying in. That's where you're going to see limitations on the neighborhood deliveries. There's a lot going. Also, our battery technology still isn't there. It's just, we can run our drones on Verizon, so I can send a drone all the way to Jackson if I carry enough batteries. But I'm going to have batteries bigger than I am. So as battery technology progresses, that's where the study of chemistry is so key. We will see the home delivery. UPS is already doing this, actually a good bit in Arkansas, in the rural areas where UPS trucks can't make it up the rocky driveways, the gravel, where the top of the truck opens up and they're delivering the package using the drone. So it's from the road to the house, back to the truck, which are just short distance. I don't know if it's automated or if it's pilot. I would hope it's pilot, just because you never know the trees, and there's a lot of like Skydio technology. So I don't want to say how UPS is doing it, but they are testing that tech. So we'll see it more. We're also, for our little types, we're going to see drone taxis. These are already being tested in San Francisco and California, a division of Uber's research program. They have a big, giant, it's about, can't stop. It's a 2-seater, 4-o'clock drone ran by an iPad. So I'm not going to go home in it, but I can go to my helipad, tap the other authorized helipads that are in the area, and travel to those. So we will see more of that coming. Our younger generation, it's going to be very common. Like my little girl's 5. She'll be Uber droning everywhere by the time she gets up to our age. But The thing, I would say the only thing, or the main thing limiting our technology being implemented in the field right now is the politics side. Not in a bad way, the FAA, our airspace is so busy and our equipment's so antiquated, you saw it happen in Southwest the other day, that until the FAA can find a way to properly and safely manage all this technology, that's the limiting factor. Other countries, especially Germany, drone delivery has been happening for years. They have drones that are paramedics that carry the AFib, boom, automatically, so when there's a car wreck, a drone dispatches, sends it out. There's an operator on the drone that tells people how to use it, so they shop delivery them back. The delivery of organs is already happening, it's been happening overseas for many years. US just started testing it last year. Again, just we have our politics we have to work through. But take Russia and Germany where they freeze. We think we got ice, they've got ice. So to transport an organ, it's 45 minutes to get the van, try to get your way across town. Drop it in your igloo cooler, rooftop to rooftop, 15 minutes. Organs are only viable for X amount of time. You just give that doctor an extra 30 minutes to operate. So you'll see it in big industry first, and then it'll trickle down. Where it's going to trickle down to that we're preparing our students for doesn't exist yet. That's the hardest part about this. The freshmen and the junior, senior, nothing's going to change that much. But the junior hires in the freshman area, by the time they graduate, everything we're teaching them is going to be so mostly obsolete. It's like going to college to learn coding. It's a complete waste of your time. Because by the time you graduate, right now we're on Python. If I go to this college with Python in 4 years, we'll be using it, but it's going to be replaced. So that's where some jobs are super big tech. You graduate, go to work. And the program we want to do, what we want y'all to work on with your students is really teaching them how to learn. A lot of it is read, memorize, regurgitate. But putting the problem physically in front of them, and drone just makes it fun. Vex robotics is amazing. Lego, we've been doing a lot of work with Lego lately. Brilliant, because you're stimulating the kids to still do the hands-on portion and how to think through problems. That's the main goal of Millennium Drones. Yes, we're turning out some of the best pilots in America that are getting hired. We just picked a contract out with Windmill Turbine Inspection Company that's global. This year they're hiring 80 pilots right out of high school. They have flight skills, they need to do inspections on windmills. So these kids are coming out 18 years old, making starting salaries $82,000 a year. Not bad. But they currently have to get pilots, train them, spend 6 months in a training program. So that's where we develop rocket drones. When they come out of the program, the kids are just racing, right? They want to get to the nationals and get a trophy. But they're coming out with a flight skill that's way more advanced. I'll let you in on a secret for private school since I'm one of you. I'll just keep it in this room. We haven't signed papers yet. Tennessee has picked us up to write the first round of certification courses. So right now, a pilot, you get your 107, which is the license to fly a drone, but you could have never flown a drone in your life. And this kills small business because you come into interviews, you have a drone pilot's license, and I'm desperate for pilots. 30 minutes in, like, all right, where's your logbook? This is how many hours you have. Oh, I just got my license last month. Thanks for just wasting my day because you are worthless. And not as a person, but to my industry, you just killed my day. But you come in with that flight book and this flight skill. So what we've moved into on the certification side is not just certified, but qualified. So our work with Tennessee, we're doing accreditation courses on thermal, on NDVI, which is used in agriculture. You're talking about spraying crops. If you have 10,000 acres, you don't want to spray 10,000 acres. That's a lot of money in fertilizer. But if I can fly a drone with a sensor and learn how to read it, that's the biggest part. How do I interpret that data? Now I see my back 100 has drought. These 30 over here are getting infested by some type of bug. Now I can spot treat on where I can put fertilizer. As a farmer, it saves you a fortune, also increases yield, which helps increase profit side.
We're in year 2 of underwater drone.
Yes.
So we partnered up with Mais-tec. So year 2, we're in, and we actually at the first one at the University of Memphis school, and literally students learning to build underwater robots or drones. And I think that's the other evolution in drones is underwater and even terrestrial-based drones. Why send an astronaut out on an EVA when, from Earth terrestrially, you can have a drone pilot, do the repair, do all that. I think those two, underwater and terrestrial, will be the next evolution of drones as we go.
Absolutely, because pressures.
Right.
The underwater pressure, so it's a little bit different than the vacuum, but it's still a pressure based. So the geometry calculus, learning the spheres, learning the shapes, what you can do. That's where drones, not just air. Drones are the robots that are currently taking soil samples on the farm. We're working with the Army a little bit on some projects for the school about what they need. Not the weapon side, that's our big thing, is the technology side. But there are so many jobs and careers around both space, water, tunneling underground, even some different things you're using. And that's where we need the kids to have that creative mind. We tell our kids, part of our course is actually an entrepreneur section of creating your own, drawing your own drone company. And we ask them, what is your crazy idea? What would you love to see a drone do one day? Doesn't matter how crazy it is. Now we're going to encourage that and build a business plan around it, because we need our kids thinking crazy. That's what we're going to invest in, so we can retire one day. We've kind of hit our creative stage. I'm 40, I'm old now. But our kids have these young ideas, plus coming up in their world, what we need in our life isn't what they need in theirs. It's different. So that's where that ability to constantly learn and adapt. So anything robotics, anything drone, anything coding, absolutely. Underwater is a blast, and it's way more difficult than in the air.
So what do you offer in schools?
So on the rocket drone side, rocket drone is an accredited e-sport, and we're also a full-on sport, just like basketball, football, baseball. We have the entire racetrack set up in the gym that you'll get to see and you'll get to fly. Designed at the request of New York State. Students that aren't built for football, but don't want to be part of chess club. We need something inclusive, but also something that the kids can learn and move into a career-based atmosphere. So we started 6th grade all the way through 12, collegiate coming on, and we are co-ed, because we need more of our young ladies to stay engaged. We're losing a lot of our young girls, and it's killing us because of the way their minds work. We know that blows us away the way her brain works. So grade 6 to 12, there's a full curriculum that go with junior high section and the high school section, teaching the fundamentals of flight, and a lot of those programs of how to learn, how to stay involved, learn the mathematics and sciences. But it is a full-on racing league. So our gates all have computers built into them. We're tracking your velocity, your speed, and your time. And the students are earning their way up to a national championship, just like in basketball. 2024 is being held on Pittsburgh Beach in Hilton. 2025 is at the Buffalo Bills Clubhouse in New York. The Bills owners are fan of ours, and they put the stadium for us. We're hoping to have some players there as well. So the industry see the importance, and they're helping us with the launch projects. But the racing is we're building some of the best pilots out there. So as big industries continuing to grow and the need for pilots grow, now they know if they get us an authorized rocket drone pilot, they pass all the certificate programs.
So your curriculum can be taught by
Anyone. We write it, so we brought a teacher in to help us write our curriculum. I can speak to it, but I can't sound it to something the students would understand. So teachers actually have to write our curriculum. So the teaching part is very easy. And also the coaching portion. The hardest thing with the drone, there's so many hundreds of pieces that go into it. Our slogan is drone racing simplified. We built it when it's time to run that race. You hit prepare for race on your tablet. We have a whole floor we built. The Bluetooth speaker takes over. Racers to the line in 30 seconds. All right, way to race, hit the race button. So everything's automated to the point at the end of the race, you hit end race. Each one of those racers' speeds and everything automatically uploads to the database. And live time, you'll see where your pilot's ranked versus every other pilot in the country. So you're not just racing schools here in Memphis, you're competing against our kids in New York, Florida, Arkansas, everywhere. We met with Arkansas a couple of weeks ago. They're actually talking about coming on statewide in 2024, which means that every high school and junior high in Arkansas, doesn't sign could possibly be on board, mainly because the computer sciences, the STEM, the areas that it touches for the creativity is where they're at. So based on industry, we're creating pilots that know how a motor works, how a drone comes apart, how to fix it. So when I hire them, I can come back to work on the pilot side. But we're also trying to create general engineers. Half the kids that go through your drone program could care less about drones. But something inside is going to trigger them. Hang on a second. You're telling me that one little circuit board, and we built our own circuit boards in-house. And I was watching Chantry build them the other day, and I was like, you know what? We're going to set up the studio and record this, because he has his electron microscope, the solder plates, all this stuff we don't teach in school, just in 2 days. But we're going to show the kids how to apply. So we want their minds just trigger on how many jobs exist and how many jobs don't exist that they can 28th. next month.
So do you see it as like an engineering class during the day or extracurricular activity or, and what's the startup cost?
Sure. So you run either way. Initially, it was designed purely as a racing league for an after-school program. We wrote the curriculum at the request of multiple states because, I guess, purchasing, now that people for their STEM budgets as well as their sports, their CTE is really in this. So you can run it during the day, as we've seen schools put it in their CTE as like an elective. It's not built to be 5 days a week, 45 minutes a day. It's built to tag in for, say, a semester, you do it 3 days a week at 45 minutes. You can add it into an existing class, but it's not really a standard. You could also run it during the day as a club. We're experimenting with one of our schools right now on how to do a drum club during the day. So it's really flexible on where you put it. But ultimately, depending on where your drum team and how you have the station, you can do it during the day, after school, however you want to host it. That's just a little bit, you'll learn a lot more about the pro. But the buy-in for rocket drums, each school is its own independent team, just like in basketball. It's a one-time cost at $17,500. That gets you your drone, your goggles, your esports computer, your simulator licensing. Our dashboard's interactive, so you as the teacher and your students, I can log on and see where every student is in the curriculum if they're doing it remotely. I can monitor their quizzes. One of the things that kills me is you give them video to watch that they need to understand. They just click through it. As a teacher, you'll be able to monitor if they watch 30 seconds of the video if they actually go through. And I can get you a breakout that comes with the program, but it is a full-on sport. We're also building it in a way that it's not just a cost for the school. We want it to be an asset coming back into the school. You'll see in the gym, we have 6 gates set up. Those are available. We don't print on the gates because the same sponsors you have this year may not come back next year, but we have still in our wraparounds that you put around each gate. So as a small business that's out there, you'll can sponsor a ladder gate or a cube gate. That's your choice what you sell it for. We do $1,000 a gate. So that's a $6,000 revenue on that side. And then also summer camps. We're in the talk right now on the collegiate level, not allowed to say what college, but NCAA-wise of becoming the official drone sport of the NCAA. With that, we're building in our requirement because we didn't want it just to be a sport. We want it to be an educational piece where now my juniors and seniors can take classes and get credit on the college side, learn that college technology. Those talks are happening now, should roll out hopefully by the end of this year once we get all that curriculum modified to standards.
Is it an SEC school? Like Auburn University, UH?
We spend a lot of time with Auburn, I'll tell you that, but.
I'm really interested in your cinematography provincial program for the state. I mean, that's our big pull to you outside of,
So I'm glad you said that. Do we have time? Are we okay, John?
Yeah, we do till like 10:45-ish or so, because he advertised the start of the other portion at 11, and there are people coming who are not part of Mais-tec. So we need to make sure we're down there by 11. You've got 5 or 6 minutes.
So do you do a lot with Adobe currently?
We do. All of our students taking graphic arts design, we're an Adobe Apple shop.
Excellent. So you're ahead of the curve significantly. Adobe is the key. So as a drone pilot, my guys make $100 an hour. The more advanced pilots make up to $200 an hour, depending on the job set and the equipment they're running. Editors are $250 per edited minute.
Yep.
So we'll fly a drone job all day long.
Yeah.
But the money comes from the editing. So if you want a 5-minute commercial, that's what pays the bills. So your editing side, let me see. One of our pilots was recently in Hawaii on a job. And this will show you, so look at the color of the water. I know it's on a projector, so it's not quite the 4K. But on the Adobe side, we're working with Adobe to build this credential into the class.
Yeah.
In our curriculum, we already have video editing of ISO, aperture, things you need to know. Because if we make you a drone pilot who can run a camera, so you see here, it already converted, it's hard to tell. You can look on the laptop later if you want to. But this shows you an unedited versus an edited clip of utilizing Adobe on this. But if we put you into the world as a drone pilot with basic flight skills and video skills, we haven't done you any favors. Because then, you go out, you fly a job, you do a pretty picture and deliver it, thanks. But if you show up and you know how to do basic editing on contrast and color, you can charge $35 more per session, and he's gonna get way more work. So video editing is one of the programs we're working on both at the collegiate level and here with the state. Let's see if this one.
We should go there to make sure that this is
Yeah, I agree.
I can see a team meeting.
Field trip.
We could go to that. And the next, okay, this is all Hawaii. The other side of this, on the financial side, is a lot of these clips we put up on the, where you can buy clips. You'll pay $200 for a 30-second clip all day. So you'll see a lot of our video, the Memphis Bridge, the Memphis skyline, is all B-roll that we flew once and we set up every single time. So especially those students that have a creative eye, that's how you get your art department involved with your creative editing work and start to mix and match those companies.
And our school is project-based, so everything interconnects when students are working. Graphic arts is working with, a student is working on the science side, and it's all combined.
Right, perfect.
What do these people charging like to do just a simple real estate listing that you're seeing now? I mean, like, what does that cost somebody for?
So for us to show up and fly a house and give you edited pictures,
Yeah.
20 edited pictures are $175. About 3 or 4 of those a day. So as a high school, that's good money. I mean, as an adult, that's good money. You want a video, tack on an additional $75 for a 30-second clip, which now with the beauty of AI, I don't need to do my own editing for those short clips. I put it through a software that we utilize, and it overlays the music for me. I just tell it what I want. Now my editing time is down from an hour to 15 minutes, which kids are going to learn profit and how the profit margins work. If you're on a commercial job, it starts at $250 an hour, like $350. Our highest hourly rate is $350 an hour. That's to all of our infrastructure and inspection trees and more expensive aircraft. Our trucks have been put through the ringer on the off-road trails in certain places for rescue type stuff. So prices, if you're good, you should never make less than $150 an hour, and then you should climb from there. That's just your basic entry-level work.
Thinking about retirement?
No. So at TTC, he was part of the night event there, and they had the whole thing set up that you're about to see. And bless his heart, he did work with me, and I did do it line of sight, and then he put the goggles on. Some of you saw my Facebook page. I mean, Brandon, I did promote all that. Anyway, he did make me sit down, so he's correct. They make you sit in a chair. And it was, I couldn't do anything with the goggles on, but I've never really played with that. I had never really put goggles on until we put cases on that time.
Yeah.
You brought them around.
Yeah.
You went past here maybe.
Yeah, I think it was here.
But so it's really easy. Let's give Brandon a applause. I'm telling you, when I saw his presentation at TTC, I thought we got to get him at a Mais-tec meeting. Not to sell his product. I mean, you're going to see that, but just to hear his expertise and what our kids are going to be going into and facing, and what we need to be doing to help educate them to get these kids ready. So I think we've seen that part. Now we're going to see the fun part and what you can buy from Brandon if you're interested. So I think, I don't know if Chris is resell. I don't know how that works. That's somebody else's responsibility. But I guess the PBS people can tell us how to get there.
So it's 2 hallways, and you pass lots of bathrooms. This one